Recording.
Hello, we are back. Welcome to TKO Boxing. We are back with another video. And guys, today we're going to look at something that we've spoke about quite a bit on the channel so far. You know, we've spoke about the big fights that we want to see not happening. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about one fight each, which we really want to see. And we really think it's important that, you know, we see them as soon as possible, because we spoke a bit about this already, that boxing, we keep seeing these big fights, that, you know, these fights that, you know, they're good fights, but they're not the ones we really want to see. So, Ben, I'm going to start off with you because you've picked out an interesting choice. You've gone for a choice which is actually in the women's division of boxing. Obviously, it's a division that's going to continue to grow. And I mean, this fight that you've picked out, for me, you know, there was a Taylor fight that was close enough for me personally, should have been a headliner not too long ago. But this one surely would be a headliner, wouldn't it?
I think so. See, so I've gone for Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. And the simple reason is just, you look at both their records, what they've accomplished. Katie Taylor, for me, she put women's boxing on the map in this country. I think then, obviously, Amanda, 7 different world titles in different weight classes, which is Guinness World Record. And it is just, they were close this time last year. The Pursuits 2 fight should have been this fight. The contract was signed and complications, but everyone wants to see it, and it will be the biggest women's fight of all time. And I don't see why not. They both throw so many punches. It'd be exciting. There's not many Katie Taylor fights you'll watch and think, well, that was dull. So I think it would be brilliant to see.
Interesting question on that one, Josh. I'll ask you. Do you think that Katie Taylor should have a loss recorded?
It's thanks for sending that one to me, mate. No, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, you know, both Pursuit fights were very, very close. The second one, I think, was definitely the right result. I think she won it by a round, maybe 2 rounds. The first fight, it's one of those. I'll be honest, I've watched that fight probably 5 or 6 times, and every single time I think differently on it. So I can more than understand why people say no, Pursuit won that. I'll be honest, the most common result in my head when I've watched it is probably a draw, if I'm being brutally, like, sort of fair to it. I think a draw would have been bang on. But, you know, when you're fighting the biggest name in the women's divisions, you know, certainly in the UK, she's got a good following worldwide. She's fought in Boston, you know, all over America. You do sort of have to accept sometimes, you know, the big name gets the decisions. You know, we've seen that with Mayweather for years. Canelo now, in fairness, does, you know, if you're going to fight him, you've got to knock them out to obviously beat them. So it's one of those. I mean, it's a great choice by Ben. I've got to say it. I was gutted when that sort of fell through from Fight Camp last year. I understood why, you know, this would be the pandemic. We can't get the crowd to put that fight together. Obviously requires a lot of money. So, I mean, I think we will see it, but I think it's about time in that fight, isn't it? I mean, you know, you look at the promoters, Eddie Hearn, obviously with Matchroom, Lou DiBella is Amanda Serrano's, you know, they've worked together. If they've agreed it once, they can agree it again. So I just think it's about time. But no, great choice, Ben. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just so you're not alone on your opinion, Josh, I'll throw my neck out for you. And I personally think the first fight, I probably wouldn't have given it to Katie Taylor. But you make some good points. And maybe it's just the fact that, you know, I think in the first fight, a lot of punches were thrown. Maybe Katie Taylor did land more effectively, you know, but it's a hard one, isn't it? I think it was a very close fight, and maybe you're right. Maybe a draw realistically would have been the fairest result there. And I agree, the second fight was a clear Katie Taylor win for me. I don't really buy into the argument that she lost that one. Moving away from that fight though, Ben, you know, you've chosen your big fight. I'm going to put you under pressure here. Who wins that one?
It's not very often I'd go against Katie Taylor, and I still think she'd win. But I do think that Serrano would have a good chance in the sense of the experience she's got. She had more fights than Katie Taylor, quite a few more. She's actually younger than Katie Taylor, and her older sister has fought Katie Taylor in the past. So she's got that inside knowledge, and I think it would be an all-out war. And I just think it would go either way.
You think that could potentially? Do you think that could potentially, you know, put Serrano as the face of women's boxing? Obviously, especially, well, in England especially, it's always been Katie Taylor. Could kind of be like the dethroning of her?
It could, but an Eddie Hearn fighter always gets the rematch. It's as simple as that. So you can't, you don't beat her once, you beat her twice, don't you?
The thing is, a fight of that magnitude, in fairness, there'll be rematch clauses in the contract, won't there, for both sides. And I think, you know, I know we've made a couple of jokes on this about we could end up with Wilder Fury 63 and all that, but that's the sort of fight also that you could quite easily see a trilogy of, isn't it? You know, there's straight away talk after the second Pursuit fight that there's justification of a third fight. So I think that's the sort of thing that you'd see. I think you'd end up seeing that once or twice, maybe even 3 times.
Yeah, I guess, Josh, moving on to your choice now then. I'm guessing you're not gone for Fury Wilder 63. You've chose another fight.
No, it's actually the 59th fight that I really want to see.
Yeah, you've chose the 59th. Do you want to see him fight?
No, I've gone for, in the welterweight division, obviously in the males, I've gone for Spence and Crawford. You know, you look at people's pound for pound lists, both of these fighters are in there. I mean, Crawford, in fairness, 3-weight world champion, so he really does have the claim to be there. My only knock on him, in fairness, would be that he's probably not fought the highest level of opposition. Don't wrong, he's beaten who he's got to beat at that weight. But, you know, when he was at 140 pounds, he beat Julius Ndongo for the undisputed. Ndongo then's been flattened since. And, you know, he was there at the right time, I would say that. And whereas you look at Spence, you look at his record, you know, he came over to England and beat Kell Brook, ruined my day. I'm a big Kell Brook fan. But, you know, to do that at Bramall Lane, that was a big standout win. You know, he's then gone on, he's fought, you know, your Sean Porters. He's fought the people. He's the number 1 in the division for me, without doubt. But Crawford's number 2, isn't he? I know we've got Spence and Pacquiao, and there's a lot of talk at the moment in boxing circles, obviously with Al Heyman and PBC trying to keep their fighters in-house and only fighting each other. But they're only doing that for the greed, which we've obviously touched on before. They need to go to Top Rank and make the fight. You know, Bob Arum's openly talked about how Crawford's not a draw, and, you know, sort of said he wants paying too much money. That's why he doesn't fight very often. So, I mean, I don't know how long's left on his contract, unfortunately, but I mean, if I was Terence Crawford, I'd be speaking to the likes of Matchroom, speaking to the likes of PBC, because they've got the monopoly on welterweights generally. And I'd be making moves to go there because, you know, it's going to be each other's biggest payday. You know, it's a unification. You've then got Ugas, who's got the WBA. So I don't know. I mean, in a perfect world, if I'm honest, I want to see this fight, but I'd like to see one of them go and pick up the WBA belt, and then you've got like an absolutely monster of a undisputed fight that really would
that's it, right?
Best in the division. So that's my fight.
Yeah, it helps write itself, doesn't it, when it's an undisputed, as you say. I think it's one of them, isn't it, with Crawford? Maybe he wouldn't be as big a pull, but maybe we'll have to settle a little bit on finance, you know, the finance side of things. I mean, we spoke about that a bit, but, like, you know, the finance is getting in the way of the fans seeing the boxing that want.
I get that, but, you know, fighters, I mean, Eddie Hearn's talked quite a lot about it in terms of that's why he's gone to DAZN, so as he can give his fighters the best paydays. And I understand that, and I really do appreciate it. You know, if you're getting punched in the head for a job, it can all go wrong, can't it, with one punch? So you need to earn what you can while you can. But Crawford's got to look at this realistically. At the minute, if he retired today, you look down his resume, he fought Kell Brook. I'm a massive Brook fan, but at welterweight, Kell Brook's not been a welterweight for 5 years. Boiled himself down, you know, and the knockout finally knocked him out. But Brook probably won the first round or two. So, he didn't look spectacular in that. He then had a bizarre victory over Amir Khan. You know, and then he's not fought the names. You know, it's a legacy thing for me. And legacy-wise, he needs to step up and fight them. You know, I think he's 32, 33 now. So in terms of the lighter weights, you know, he's got another couple of years, so he needs to make it count, doesn't he? And even financially, he's going to make more money fighting Errol Spence than he's going to fighting a Brit past their best or whoever the hell else Bob Arum can dig up and put in front of him.
Oh, definitely, because I think Spencer's he has a big stature in America. You'd probably fancy the fight to go to America as well. So obviously he is going to be the big pull. If it is for an undisputed, obviously that then writes itself. Ben, who would you fancy in that fight?
I think I agree with Josh with Spence. I think
Mm.
for me, Crawford, he's played it safe a lot of his career, and he's got the names, but he's not fought them when they should. Like, look at when Spence beat Brook. Yes, Brook just lost to Golovkin, but at the time, Golovkin, who wanted to fight him? And he
See,
come off and
I'm
Go
going to
on.
defend Brook slightly there. I do think, I'm not just as a biased Brook fan,
Well,
but going up to 160, and he didn't look out of place there in terms of physical, like stature, boiling yourself straight back down with an eye injury to welterweight. I do think that was too much too soon. He should have like either vacated or I don't know, but I will defend him a touch there. He was winning that fight, and then he was blatantly he got nothing left in the tank. But I apologise.
I
Go on.
agree. But Spence did have to train for the best Brook. Crawford
Yeah.
didn't. And I think that's what it comes down to. And like I say, Spencer come over here and fight Brook. That's not a small name. He was never favourite for that, in this country at least. And I think like he's a bit more grounded and he's got the experience all round. And I think he works hard for it. And I do like Spence. I think he's going to beat Pacquiao, but I think it'll be a good fight. And I think that's a good fight for him. Because even though Pacquiao again is not past his best, he can still put on a performance. I think it's.
I was going to say, and he beat Keith Thurman, who was probably considered the number one in the division in his last time out. I know it was 2 years ago, but obviously the pandemic's not helped that. But, you know, I don't know if you've seen that fight, but he definitely did beat Keith Thurman as well, to be fair to him. So I think Spencer, I agree with you. I do think Spencer win, but I struggle to bet against Pacquiao because you just never know, do you?
Yeah.
And I think it's one of them, isn't it? I think Pacquiao will be slightly past his best, and what a big name to add to your resume. It would surely just increase his worth and how people view him as such a big fighter. Guys, I'm going to move on to my choice. I think you guys have picked two great ones, but at the end of the day, we can't skip past the obvious one. And I think you know what I'm going to go for. Ready? It is, of course, the Fury Joshua. I mean, we thought we were going to see it. We really did think we were going to see it. And then Wilder, obviously, for me, Wilder deserves the rematch. And it's an unpopular opinion. But whether you like it or not, the first one was a draw. We're not going to argue whether it was a draw or not, because I think we all know realistically it wasn't. The second fight, he still goes in as the title holder. So he got beat, yes. But he deserves the rematch. And whether you agree with it or not, when you lose a title in boxing, especially a heavyweight title, and especially a big name fight, 9 times out of 10, it's going to result in a rematch. This is why rematch clauses are built into the contract. And, you know, all Wilder's really done is he's drawn down on the contract, hasn't he? He's gone, look, I had this clause. You owe me this fight. There was reasons why I didn't exercise it in a certain amount of time. I think that's the only argument you can make for why he didn't deserve the rematch. Obviously, he waited a lot longer than the rematch clause, which was in place. But ultimately, he's won it, which means we don't get to see the fight we all wanted, the Fury Joshua one, the big one, especially in the UK. I think it would be a big pull worldwide as well. You know, it'd be an undisputed heavyweight. Heavyweight division. You've not seen that in a long time. So, I mean, for me, this is the one that has to happen. I'm a little disappointed in Joshua as well. I don't know if you guys will agree. I'm disappointed in Joshua for when he's took this fight, the mandatory fight against Usyk. Because if he had got this done July time, we could have seen this before the end of the year. We're not going to see this before the end of the year now. The earliest we'll see it is probably March, April time, because they probably won't fight in the first couple of months of the year.
Well, I'm going to take this one just to say I'm going to give it to Josh. His face tells you everything you need to know. I think I enjoy what he has to say, because whatever I'm going to say, he's going to say it better. So take it away.
Right. Firstly, I do actually agree with you. You know, Wilder's got it. I don't think he deserves it in the sense of sport, but contractually he deserves it. He was the champion. I just think the only reason I say I won't watch it, but I know I will. But the only reason he wouldn't get it for me is because, you know, the first fight, yes, was a draw, but Fury boxed his head off for, 10 of the 12 rounds. It was not a draw, but fine. The second time he's come out with a different plan and just destroyed him. So there's not the public interest as such, but as we've said it previously, Wilder's got that scary power. So okay, we get Wilder Fury 3. Secondly, then you start talking about Joshua. We can't, I'm sorry, but we're not blaming Joshua for this. I am not on this channel allowing that we're blaming Anthony Joshua. I hear what you're saying about it, the talk is September the 25th, and it might mean that we probably don't get the fight this year. However, he was in camp based off Fury's team, and obviously Joshua's own team want to make the fight. Yeah, it's all done. Fury had announced it on his Instagram the day before, but it was already the worst sort of kept secret in boxing or even in the world. So he's been training for Tyson Fury. If I was going into the biggest fight ever, that ultimately, whatever else I do in the sport, I'm going to be probably remembered for this fight. And then you tell me, oh, I've got to go and fight Usyk, who is, again, on most people's pound for pound list. He's an absolutely brilliant boxer, but fights completely different to Fury, different physical size, different stature. I'm not being funny. If that was me, I'd be like, no, I want a 12-week training camp. And don't forget, he's been there before, hasn't he? When he fought Ruiz, I know it was a rearranged, it was supposed to be Miller and all the rest of it, but the only questions he got asked in that fight week was about Wilder next. So he's been there, he's had the banana skin. So if anything, I respect him for saying, no, I'm having a 12-week training camp. I'm not, fighting Usyk at 7 weeks notice, and then who knows what will happen. And the other thing is, I don't think the negotiations will have been as straightforward as been made out, because Alex Krasuk, who obviously is Usyk's manager, he's no mug. He look at the stuff that he said in the press. He's going to have rinsed every pound note that he can out of this deal, especially because it's a mandatory situation. And they themselves, they're going to have wanted a proper training camp, aren't they? Usyk's not been that active. Don't forget, he's been at heavyweight 2 years now, and he's only really fought twice. One was against Chaz Witherspoon, who I think one of us would probably have a decent chance against. And then obviously he didn't look brilliant against Chisora, did he? I know we're fans of Chisora, and we will get to a video on him. But if you're going to say, on the level of Tyson Fury, of Anthony Joshua, you need to be doing a job on Derek Chisora, don't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I think we know that Usyk's going to play it for a points winning against Joshua. I mean, there's part of me wants Wilder to take Fury's head off and then Usyk to beat Joshua on points, because I think they've wasted enough time trying to get this arranged that they don't deserve, and neither of them deserve the big money now. And, but it won't happen. I think if you're thinking sensibly, at least one of them's going to win.
So let me ask you then. Obviously you run the show around here. No, being serious. Wilder Fury 3. Who? Just one word. Who wins it?
Wilder.
You going Wilder?
Wilder's going to bomb squad him.
Oh, fair play. Right, I respect that. Joshua Usyk. Same question. Who wins it?
I think Joshua wins that. I think he'll. I think the reach is going to be an issue for Usyk. I think we've already seen him struggle a little bit in that against Derek Chisora. I think Joshua probably goes in a bit heavier, and I think as in to what he sometimes does, where he goes for the agile look. I think he'll put the pounds on and just look to. We know Usyk can take a punch, but I reckon Joshua will just use his reach and probably win by knockout. To be honest, I'm going to call that. Look, there's loads of fights in the heavyweight division. I can rant for another 10 minutes about how Dillian White deserves his title shot. 100%. I can also say I'd love to see Wilder Joshua, just because I think that would be a great fight as well. So there's a lot, but the one I've chosen is obviously not Wilder Fury. We've already seen that enough. Joshua Fury. So that's my fight, guys, that I've picked.
So who wins that fight then? Fury Joshua. When we get,
I think Fury wins that on points.
Yeah. Do you agree? Yeah,
Fury wins that on points. He'll talk the talk. He'll say that he's going to. He's basically going to say that he'll go through Joshua and all this, but he'll win it on points. I don't think Joshua will have the skill. The thing is with Wilder's not more skillful than Joshua, but I just think Wilder could hit him with a one punch and it's lights out. Joshua has that in him, but sometimes with him, it's about building the combinations to then finish him off. He's a bit different, but they're both knockout fighters in a way from what we've seen the majority of the fight times. But Joshua knocks out his opponent a different way to what, say, a Wilder does. So yeah, for me, Fury. Ben is shaking his head because he's gonna lick AJ's arse and
for me,
talk rubbish. Go on, Ben. No, you plead your AJ case.
No, I'd love Fury for AJ down in the first round. I'd love it, but I'm quite a negative supporter of people I like, and I honestly think that AJ, towards the end, I think it'd be a rest stoppage. It'd be very similar to the Ruiz AJ, but the other way around. I think Fury won't try to knock Joshua out. He will at the start, but when he realises that maybe he's not going to, I think he'll take his foot off the gas a bit and he'll just try to outbox him. And then, like AJ did against Klitschko, I think there'll be a round where he gets the better hand, and I think the ref would step in on it, because you can't forget, going into that fight, as it is now, Fury's not the world champion. AJ is. He's holding more belts. So as they go into that, AJ goes as the champion. Where they go, oh, there's no champion advantage, that he's to the one with more belts. And let's face it, Eddie Hearn, he's going to make most of that fight. And I just think that would be AJ's. I've said it for years. I think AJ would stop him.
I'm not confident it'd be Fury, but Fury could go back to 25 stone and would still slap up Joshua.
I mean,
that's how confident I am.
Go on.
That's controversial. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm actually on the fence. I think Joshua would destroy Wilder. I really do. Because he can box a bit and he's got that power when he gets on the inside. The Fury fight, I think... in fact, you know, I'm not going to say, because we'll end up covering it again, but I think I'll be able to make a good prediction after we've seen Fury fight Wilder for the third time. So I'm going to hold mine until then.
Okay.
Well, there we go. Let's leave it at that. Guys, if you've enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.